Hey folks, here at OS Review. So you're watching our video review of the ES-8 game Prince. This is very similar to gaming emulators that we've seen in the past. It contains over 150 games built in, such as Super Mario World and other titles like Tetris, which are classic games that aren't too graphically intensive, but are still pretty fun to play around with and are quite nostalgic, especially if you fit into that demographic. It's very inexpensive, coming in under $30, so it's also a good idea for kids to play around with. It's not going to cost you too much if you break it or lose it, and it's also pretty well built as far as construction quality is concerned. You can purchase this directly through Amazon.com, and the link is in the description box in this video. And taking a look at the box here, we have a pretty simple presentation. It comes in multiple colors. We have the blue version here. It doesn't really include games from iPhone, PC, or Android, so I'm not really sure what that is going on, but on the back there's a diagram that shows you the various ports and the buttons on this particular unit. It takes 3 AAA batteries, which are not included. You can also put in a rechargeable lithium-ion pack, although that is going to cost you a bit more, so that's an extra that does not come inside of the packaging. There is a TV out cable included though, so you can plug it into a monitor and play back games on a larger display, as well as a user guide that is pretty intuitive and shows you the various games. So this is what the actual ES-8 looks like. As you can see, there's a 2.58-inch display which offers a matte finish, which makes it still pretty easy to see under direct sunlight. There is a power key on the very top, as you can see here, in addition to the video out proprietary cable. On the very back, you have access to the battery slot or compartment, and on the sides there's access to a scroll wheel that allows you to change the volume and make that louder or more quiet. On the front there's access to a mono speaker that is pretty loud, although it is a little bit tinny, and on the front you have access to the traditional D-pad, a select reset key in addition to a start key, and a T, B, and A key. The buttons are risen above the surface, and for a gaming console they are pretty tactile and responsive, even though of course they don't feel as good as a Nintendo gaming console, so it is a lot cheaper on the other hand. Now pressing the reset key also takes you back to the home screen, because if you are inside one of the games like Super Mario, in order to go back and select another game, you do have to press reset, which is a little bit odd. There isn't a back key on here. So powering this thing on, we have batteries installed inside already. This is what it looks like. This is the main boot up screen. You have access to the battery indication on the top left-hand corner. This shows you how much battery life is left, and it lasted us roughly a month or two. Use it sporadically in between. Zooming in here, we can see the display offers a surprisingly good quality. Now the viewing angles are a lot wider than I originally expected. If I tilt the screen upwards and downwards, you can see that the colors are still fairly accurate and bright. They are visible under direct sunlight, and overall if you're in a train and you're moving around or on the bus, you can still play games with ease and it doesn't really affect your performance. You can see the menu here is quite simple. I can press on start and that takes me basically into the UI. And then you have a list of games that you can select through. There are 152 games. I can also go backwards and jump into 152 right away. There's a small graphical thumbnail on the top right-hand corner that shows you a brief idea of what the game is, and of course if you don't know, you can always look it up, because these are pretty classic games on here like Mario or Tetris, and then you can just press on start there just to launch into a game. Something I would have liked to see, however, would be a search functionality so I can directly search by title, because say I want to play back game number 70, the only way to get to that would be to go down one by one, and that would take quite a bit of time, because as you can see here, the scrolling function isn't particularly fast. As far as repeating games are concerned, it's not too much of an issue here. I found that for the most part all 152 games were original. There are a few games that kind of reappear 1 or 2 times. However, for the most part there are slight differences that I think justify their reappearance. So unlike some other emulators I've seen that have the same 20 games copied and pasted maybe 5 or 6 times, it seems like most of the titles on here are distinct and different, which is good. Giving you guys a quick demo, I'm going to play back, this is Super Mario, I believe 6, and just start that game. I'm going to press on there. The user interface here and the ergonomics are pretty easy to use. As you can see, A here is for jump, and I can also hold on it to jump a little bit faster. And the ergonomics on here feel pretty good. The A key is used for jumping up and down, and I can move left and right, of course, using the D-pad as expected. Overall, it definitely works pretty nicely. I can, move around with a lot of ease, and overall the graphics are also pretty smooth as far as frame rates are concerned, so it seems like the processor is doing a good job of keeping up, and again the display is quite vibrant and bright, so the contrast on here is relatively strong. In this case, it's game over. I have to press on reset actually to go back into the home screen, which is something that's a little bit odd. I kind of wish there was a home key or maybe a back key just to kind of make that transition a bit more smooth, but that is something to note. And to list out a few titles that I know should be recognizable right away, there is Contra 1, there is Super Mario, there's also Tetris on here, which works nicely. The speakers here are a bit tinny, and the music can get a little bit annoying. They are very much 8-bit or 16-bit, and again, you can connect this to a television to play back games on a big screen. It works nicely, however, because it isn't a HDMI port, the resolution is not as good as on this smaller display, which again measures roughly 1.5 inches diagonally. So I would just recommend this playing on here, and then if you want to get a TV console, there are other options out there on the market which are still pretty cheap. So this is a Tetris, as you can see there. And that's, you know, some of the games I can recognize right away. There's also Chinese chess, which is kind of interesting. There's probably even regular chess on here somewhere. So there are more classical games, some of them more animation-based, and others that are more simple, such as Galactica. Anyway, so I think that this is a pretty good gaming console just for, again, wasting some time. It's relatively inexpensive, and the build quality was a lot stronger than I expected. Just taking a look here, the plastic here is quite rigid and strong. If you kind of hit it or move it around with it, doesn't feel like it's going to break. It also doesn't creak or cringe around the corners, which is a problem that we had with a lot of other emulators that came out of China. So the build quality here is very good. It feels pretty good in the hand when you're using it, and it's also very portable. So to learn more information about this unit, be sure to read our full written review. This has been our video here at OS Reviews. This has been the Game Prince ES-8, also marketed as the RS1. Thanks for watching again here at OS.